All right. I think almost everybody is there. How's everybody with going?
Going good so far.
You guys can hear me? Somebody give me some feedback. I'm not sure if I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, yeah, I hear you now. All right, good. So today I have a little bit of a treat for you guys. You guys been listening to me talk for the last few weeks nonstop, right? So today I had the opportunity to congratulate Kendall Matthew, who was a student in my previous class, right before you guys. He got certified today, so he's the newest member in our Adobe Certified Professional community. I have him here to just give you guys a little info, about the exam, how he thought it was, and give you an opportunity to probably ask him a couple questions. Yeah, put your mind at ease. You might think the exam is something to be worried about. Yeah, so Kendall, how are you doing?
All right, man.
All right, cool. First question for you. Was the exam difficult?
I thought it was difficult, but to be honest, it was rather easy.
it was easy, right?
I was expecting more questions, but yeah.
So I believe you get 40 questions. Is that it?
Yeah, two parts, like 15
right.
questions for the first part.
Explain to us what kind of questions that they asked you.
To be honest, there are two questions. Like first one, it literally answering it for the second question. Like it had something to do about like how to export layers, like individual layers. The
Okay.
answer was layers to files.
Layers to file. Okay.
Yeah. On top of that, it should something about quick export.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But the second question now, it should tell you about what is the default file format when you use quick export. Basically PNG.
It's export to PNG.
Yeah, I just show it in the second question, first question. So.
Right. Most of it, as long as you understand the program, you know where to find the basic functions. It's a matter of common sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about any practical questions? Do you have any practical questions?
Like using Photoshop itself?
Yeah, using Photoshop itself.
Yeah, you had 20 of those. Yeah.
Okay.
They're rather easy, to be honest.
They were rather easy.
There's more like they're telling you.
Give us an idea of what you had to do.
Like one of them was just telling me create a document. I think it was just HD, like a video document.
A video document. Right,
yeah.
Right. So
and just name it. And that was it.
In a question like that, they were looking for the name for you to name it and for you to create the document with the appropriate settings, meaning size, resolution, and color mode.
They didn't ask me that.
Yeah, they didn't ask you that, right? They just asked you to create it, but they were probably looking at that for the answers. Right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask Kendall? Any questions you guys might have about the exam? I did the exam a little while back, so I might be a little bit rusty. We have somebody that did the exam this morning, so ask any question that you want.
Hi, Kendall. You said it was 40 questions. Half of it was multiple choice and the other half was practical?
I don't really say half because I said the first half. The first part was just 13 questions. That was it.
And they were
multiple choice, drag and drop, and that was it. And the second part was practical questions using Photoshop itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So 14 questions and basically simple answer, and then you have a few practical after that. I actually have the layout of the exam tutorial. So what I can do, I can send that for you guys as well after the class. It's in a PDF format, so you guys can go through it to get an idea of what the exam is really like. Any other questions for Kendall? No, everybody good? That means you're almost ready for the exam, then you guys not worried about the exam at all. Yeah, so Kendall, I wasted time to get to there then. The guy is good. All right, let me ask you one question, Kendall. Based on your observation of the exam, right, and what we did in the class, was there any areas you think we should have, I could have probably spent more time to prepare you better for the exam?
To be honest, most like what the teacher was there already.
Okay, so it was pretty well covered, right? Okay. All right, cool. Well, Kendall, thank you for your time. I know you're celebrating this afternoon, so you don't have to stay with us much longer. Congratulations again. All right, I know you work hard for it, and I'll talk to you afterwards. I actually have something I want to throw by you, a project. We'll talk about it a little later. All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Take it easy.
Oh,
All right, guys. Everybody good? I
Yeah.
thought you guys would have more questions for Kendall, so I asked him to come on. Everybody comfortable with the exam and
Well, apparently when he come and you ask him the questions, he practically, well, it seems like you're saying it easy. So if he's saying it easy, then I don't think we should really have a big issue in the exam itself.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't want to make you underestimate the exam.
It's
I
true,
just
it's
don't
true.
I just don't want you to be apprehensive, because I have some students that still hesitant in terms of doing the exam. They don't feel they're ready, and I mean I know that they're ready and they're capable. So I don't want you guys to be scared to take that leap. That's why I had somebody that
Honestly,
did it
yeah.
recently, so you could you know throw some questions around, get some feedback, and have an idea of what is waiting for you. But I do.
Honestly, I don't really have no questions, but if I have any questions, I'll just reach out to you
All right, cool,
for,
man.
for sure.
All right, good. Okay, guys. Honestly, I've had a bit of a crazy week. Did not have a chance to go through to look at anybody's homework. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if you guys have any questions. We're gonna go over the stuff we did last week, and then we'll move forward from there. While we're doing that, I will see if I can quickly look through what you guys sent me, and see how we can tackle it before the end of the class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So based on what we did last class,
Yeah.
we looked at destructive and non-destructive editing. Now that you guys had a chance to sit at it and had a chance to work with layer mask a little bit, I hope you guys have any questions for me, or everything is all correct.
I think it's all clear.
Okay. So that means I'm a good teacher then. No questions when I teach something. That's wonderful. All right. Okay. So can somebody in revision just tell me what a layer mask is?
No, ito ano, not stick manager.
What happened? Anybody tell me what is a layer mask?
A layer mask involves removing of or hiding
Hiding.
pixels. And one of the advantages of that is that you can go back in to add more pixels or subtract further pixels.
Just technical terms, what you mean is to reveal pixels.
Yes.
So you hide pixels and you reveal pixels with the mask. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody got that.
Mm.
Okay. In you guys looking at it, did you guys come across a clipping mask?
Oh,
A what?
Clipping mask. You guys ever heard that term?
No.
Clipping mask. Okay. All right. Let me just share my screen with you guys. I have somebody's homework open. Idisha's homework. 1 minute. Hi guys. So I want to have a little discussion with you. I hear myself in the background. Somebody playing the video. All right, everybody can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ito lang.
All right. So in the layer controls, you have layer mask and you have create clipping mask. You have layer mask, vector mask, and create clipping mask. And if you looked at create clipping mask, try to use it at all?
So
No? Okay. So a clipping mask is pretty much what you understand by a mask, but it allows you to clip an image or a layer to a particular shape, all right, or to a particular object. So one second. All right, I could be unprepared today. Like I mentioned, I had a really busy week and I haven't put together anything major for you guys. Okay. I'm gonna use this same layer. All right. Okay, so with the layer mask, it allows you to paint and essentially paint to hide away pixels or to reveal pixels, all right? You would use black and white or shades of gray if you wanted transparency. A clipping mask will allow you to clip a layer to a particular mask or group. So what you would do is you would need two layers, right? The first being in the shape that you want to clip, the second being the image that you want to clip, right? And you would layer create clipping mask or a shortcut Alt Control G. Yeah. And pretty much what that would do is clip the pixels in your layer, in your active layer, to whatever shape is directly below it. Right? Now it works with shape, so it works with pixels. So if I wanted to clip a shape or an object to another object, so let me give an example. All right, so we have the shape of the rows, right? Directly below the image of the rows. And if we go there, create clipping mask, we can actually clip the image to a previously clipped image, which is the shape of the rows. Everybody see that? Okay, cool. So that is your clipping mask. Can you think of any real world uses for that? Yes, no? All right. So everybody pretty much understands masking. So I'm waiting you guys homework now. Give me 1 minute. Okay, that's nice. That's autumn. Anybody else send me anything? Just check to see. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, I think that's it. All right, so nice. So Autumn, in a case like that, you did that by hand, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, cool. I know this in your freehand, my freehand is actually much worse than that, all right? But I'm going to show you another way. As I mentioned, remember I did say that there are at least 2 or 3 ways to get the same thing done in Photoshop, all right?
Yes, sir.
So, all right, so you could have actually, to get a smoother edge on that, using the technique that I was just showing you guys, which is creating a clipping mask, right? And to do it with a circle and get it precisely, let me show you what I typically do. You use a guide to get the top and the beginning part of the circle. I say the beginning, I mean the extreme right, or you could go left edge, right? And then you could draw a circle, get it almost precise. Hold on shift to get it precise. Right, and then Control Alt and G, make yours invisible, right? And we get mine with a crisp edge. Yeah. And in terms of the time that it took you to do the manual one, the freehand one, as compared to that one, which one do you think would be quicker?
To the clipping.
The clipping mask, right? The only
Yeah.
thing with the clipping mask is you would already need to have your shape defined. As in that case, it was a circle, so we can always create a circle. But in the event where you have to actually, you have a shape that is not defined, you have an area where, you know, a brush will work, then you create your freehand mask. But there are ways that you can mask a lot quicker, right? Such as using a clipping mask. Okay, and that is also another non-destructive edit. Right. The difference between that and the layer mask is the clipping mask is on a separate layer. So you end up with 2 layers as opposed to 1 with the mask attached to the layer itself.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's good. I see you get the hang of that. Let me check out the other one. All right, that is Devon, that's yours.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay. Looks pretty good. So that's my computer starts responding. All right. And again, you did that by hand, right? With the brush.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bands.
Right. So another technique that you can use, I'm gonna use that layer that I see you have there.
Okay.
Right? Is you could use a selection, right? So see, using the brush, let me just demonstrate. When you use the brush, what settings do you use for your brush? Are you aware that you can have a, let me duplicate and rasterize that so my brush can be visible? All right. When you use your brush, do you customize your brushes? Anybody looked at customizing their brush? the settings of your brush?
But when I was doing that, I'd right click and that give me that option on right now.
Okay. And did you use a hard brush or a soft brush? Do you understand the difference between the two?
Not really, but it's like okay, okay, I'm not too sure, but when I use it, I know exactly how it's gonna come out. Like as you have it now there, if I was doing it, I would understand. Like I
Okay.
think yeah.
All right. Well, let me just run through some brush settings for you, so you can at least understand what they mean, and then I will go through another option that you could have used, because I see in some areas there you did a pretty good job, right? I don't want to knock what you did at all. It looks great, but there are just a few areas, like right along the edge here. You see that that little fuzziness in your selection. You could have done a little bit better job with a harder brush. So let me work with your existing layer. So let me first show you the effect of a soft brush, right? And we're going to hide, so we're using white. So smaller brush. All right. So a soft brush, right, will give you a feathered or a faded edge. You see that? Where you almost cannot get at the edge of a line, because it takes out a little bit more and sort of gives you a gradient or fade going towards the rest of the color, right? Everybody sees that, right? That is a brush with a hardness of 0. A hardness of 100, as opposed to that, right, will give you a very crisp line, a very crisp edge. Everybody sees the difference?
Yes, sir.
Right. So when you working with your masks, let's go to the back. When you work with your masks, you want to be careful in areas like here. The effect that I see here is you were using a bit of a softer brush. So a hard brush would have actually been able to give you a nice crisp cut on the edge of the car.
Okay.
You see what I'm referring to?
Yeah.
Now, even better than that, you could have probably used a similar method. Do you think you would have done a better job with isolating the car using your selection tool, your polygonal lasso?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, well, if I take my time.
If you're taking your time, right? I think with the edges on that car, especially, you could have gotten something a little bit better, right? So let me show you another option that you can also use if you're masking.
Okay.
So I'm going to use my polygonal lasso, and again, I am not going to take my time, because we have limited time. I'm just going to do a very rough selection, right? Okay. You guys are just going to assume that my selection was perfect, all right? So let's forget about that mirror on the side. Okay, so you could have, right, made your selection just as you would have if you were imagining you were doing a destructive edit, right? Made your selection for the card, but then simply mask it. So you go to layer mask, right? And you would hold the select.
Hide.
Reveal selection.
Reveal selection.
Reveal selection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you would get your nice crisp edges that you would expect if you were using your selection tool as opposed to your brush. So your brush really lets you edit or modify your mask, but there are a number of different ways that you can put it in words that you can modify it as well, right? Using selection tools, not just brushes. Your selection tools can actually work as a buffer or like a restraint, So let's say, for instance, you wanted to remove part of the spoiler. Again, just going to make a quick selection. But you did not want your brush to go beyond a certain point. You would actually make a selection. So in other words, the area that is now selected is the active area, right? And that is the only area that your brush will actually affect. So look at that. I'm gonna paint on it, on the mask, right, with black, which would hide any of the pixels that I paint over. Now I'm actually clicking right now, all on the windscreen, and nothing is happening. Everybody sees that? But now if I click within any of the area that is selected, notice I'm clicking within and on the outside, but yet still the selection is actually acting as a barrier, preventing me from affecting anything that's outside of the selection.
Okay.
Okay, so these are just a few techniques that you can use in masking. Masking. Don't just limit yourself to the brush. It does come in handy a lot of the time, but if you just limiting yourself to it, you will get some fuzzy edges when you're expecting some nice, crisp, clean edges. Okay.
Okay.
So play around with it and see what you're capable of. All right. Let's have a look at image adjustments and adjustment layers. Okay. Anybody knows what an adjustment layer is? Excuse me? No, nobody has ever heard the term adjustment layer?
To adjust the layer.
Okay, well, you have to adjust the layer, but that is another method that we can use for non-destructive edits, right? Using adjustment layers. So let me just explain what adjustments are, what adjustments we can make to layers, and then we will take our break and we'll come back and I'll explain what adjustment layers are and how how we use them in non-destructive editing. All right. So,
Okay.
and then when I'm using your image as the one I have open, I open on mine. Everybody see my screen still, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So on our image menu, we have a number of options that will allow us to modify our image in different ways. A few of those that I want to bring to your attention are image size, right? And image size will allow you to change the size of your image. It will allow you to change the physical size of your image, right? It will also allow you to change the pixel size of your image or your resolution, in other words. All right, so this image that we're looking at is currently 53.333 inches wide by 30 inches tall at a resolution of 72 pixels per inch, meaning it's designed for the screen, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so we can actually change the size here. Let's say we wanted to change it to print quality and we want to make it print size, right? We know print quality is a resolution of 300. And print size needs to be able to fit on, let's assume, a maximum size of 8.5 by 11, which is our standard letter paper. All right. So the width, let's say the longest part, we're going to make it 11. So the size that it can fit to keep the dimensions, because it's a little bit long, is 11 by 6. And we keep the dimensions intact by having this constrain the aspect ratio selected, right? So if we scale down the width, it's automatically going to scale down the height by the same ratio. So we keep the proportions of the image intact. All right. So I'm just going to resize it so that it will fit on a regular size paper. All right. So we have that adjustment made. Sorry. All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'll call coming. The other thing I want you to look at is canvas size. Now, I don't want you to confuse image size and canvas size, right? But the canvas size adjusts the size of our canvas, not the size of our image. So let's say again that image was going to be printed on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, right? And I wanted to just set it up at the full size of the sheet. I could adjust the size here to increase the height to 8.5, right? So now our document will become, once I click OK, size width of 11 and height of 8.5 inches. So let's do that. So in that case, notice it added a little more to the canvas, but it did not change the size of the image itself, right? So that's the difference between image size, canvas size. Image rotation is straightforward. I'm gonna leave that for you guys to play with on your own. But the adjustments is what we're really gonna look at. So there are a number of adjustments that we can make on our layers to tweak it in different ways, all right? One of the more interesting ones, for instance, is hue and saturation, right? And the hue and saturation allows us to adjust the hue, meaning the color tone, and the saturation, meaning the color richness of the various colors of all of the colors in an image, right? So just to give you a quick example, in this image, we have this green car at the back. Everybody can see the green car? Okay.
Yes.
Right, so I'm going to attempt to modify the image to change the green car into, let's say, a yellow car. All right, let's see how quickly I can be done. Does it look yellow to anybody? Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
That was too close. Let's try something more drastic. Give me a color. Red?
Lilac.
Lilac, lilac, lilac. Now, those fancy colors, lilac, purple, kind of the same thing, right? Similar, close enough? All right, but you get the idea, right? Now, once I click, now I can adjust it in different ways. I just want to give you an example, right? Once I click OK, those pixels have been changed. In other words, there is no way to tell, except if you go through the Photoshop history, of course, before I close it, that car was at one point in time green. Do you understand what I mean by that? All right. So what would be an edit that will allow us to change the color, but keep the original pixels intact, so that if we wanted to go back to the green car at any point in time, we could do that. I mean, we could do it right now, you know. We could go back to the adjustments, go back to hue saturation, and attempt to change the colors around, but then we're going to have more difficulty. We're going to start adjusting other little bits of the image, and we're never going to get back at the same quality that we were at, right? So again, I just made that change. I changed it back to green, but it was the reverse of what I did. But what we did was we actually modified the pixels in the layer. Everybody understand what I mean by that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's look at another way that we can adjust the image. Desaturate. Now I'm just picking random adjustments that I know will give a stark difference, but there are a number of them, and I want you guys to actually go ahead, play with them. We will not have enough time for me to go through all of these adjustment options on what they can do. All right, so on your own time, you guys are gonna have to go through them, play with them, and figure out how to use them. If you have any issues, you can always come to me, okay? But desaturate, what do you think desaturate will do? I explained a minute ago in the hue and saturation what saturation is. Remember, I said the hue is the tone of the color, and the saturation is what? The richness or the intensity of the color. So if I bring my saturation all the way up, this is what we have on this image. if I bring my saturation all the way down,
So
this is what
when
we
you
have.
desaturate, the density decreases.
The color density decreases. So what you end up with, if it's desaturated completely, is a black and white image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the sad fact. I just desaturated the image. The pixels, all of the color have been removed from the pixels. There's no way to get it back. I basically destroyed that image.
Well, let's see if you click undo.
Well, I can undo, and that is Photoshop. But let's say I save it right now, and I come back tomorrow to continue working, and I'm like, oh damn it, I should not have taken off the color.
Okay.
Right? But I already did. I can't undo at that point. You know, I already shut down for the night and came back on another day. It's not gonna undo for me.
Understand.
You can have to reset or
Excuse me?
something like that.
What'd you say?
If you have no way you can put back the saturation,
There's no
increase the
way.
level.
No, I can colorize it again. I can do something like, for instance, use saturation, and I can throw in some color. I can throw in some color, and I can select little pieces of the image, and I can throw back in the color bit by bit, basically painting the pixels over, right? But I'm never gonna get back to the original image because the original pixels have been destroyed.
I guess in a situation like that, what you would have to do is like duplicate the
Duplicate the
image.
original image, like what I did. So we have the original image that we can come back to. All right. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna cut off it in a minute. Remember that 40-minute cutoff. So get some water. When you come back, I'm gonna show you a better way to use non-destructive editing to modify your layers, all right, to get those effects without damaging your pixels. All right, so we'll come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, see you guys.
Okay.